typically used to watching on cleats and on grass, just blazing speed. They're going in slow motion out there on sand. But, everybody is relative to the blazing speed that they show on grass. And, in your experience, what is the key to maximizing your speed on the sand?
Well, first and foremost, you want to try and make the most out of a one-step pivot. When you have to take several steps, that just really slows you down a little too much. You want to be quicker to turn on a dime as opposed to running 3 or 4 steps in the sand. That's crucial. The other part is recognizing that there's only so much you can do while running in the sand. It really comes down to the throwers recognizing that their targets are not moving as quickly as they do on grass and adjusting both the timing and the speed of their release.
The wind picking up. It was Rory Kavanagh for the Irish mixed team who picked up the D. And now Kavanagh with the disc, looking to the end zone. And it's 2-zip Ireland in the end zone. Jennifer Cooper. And a good start for the Irish.
Rory Kavanagh, one of the 2 captains of this team. Both Rory and Sam were the captains for the beach team the last 2 years in a row. So they've had a lot of experience bringing a new squad to the international beach scene, kind of leading them through this experience.
Just a couple minutes in, and Japan already down. That's Doug Heimberger, one of the leaders, veterans of the Japanese team. And Jennifer Cooper, the score for Team Ireland in the mixed division. They beat Dubai 13-1 yesterday and then had an unbelievable game against Portugal. They trailed 6-1, came back to tie it 12-12. Before losing 13-12, a heartbreaker. Obviously they feel they should be 2-0 instead of 1-1.
Yeah, but I have to disagree in calling it a heartbreaker. I'm sure that's fine if that's how the Irish want to categorize it, but I think, like I said, that's the kind of game where you can learn a lot of information. Sure. You're not going to win the tournament in the first game. It's best to get as much information, collect as much knowledge as you can about how you function as a team so that you can elevate your level of play along the entire week.
There are 18 countries competing in the mixed division, the most of any division in the tournament. Matthew Heibel, they call him Sunshine. Over to Max Friedman. This is Eri Sasaki, who played for U23 in Japan, and now the shot for the end zone. Heibel just a little too far, seeking Asako Yamamoto. So a pretty important defensive hold here for Japan if they're going to have any chance. Ireland will be going upwind, looking for its second break. If you thought the business of Porto Fields was dying out, you were mistaken. Just come to Beach Worlds and Porto Fields aplenty. Opportunity here for the Japanese team. Hidemi Tominaga picks up the disc. With the stall count rising, the forced throw is defended at the goal line by Ireland's Brian O'Callaghan. Kevin Timoney forward, 45 meters from the front of the end zone on one end to the front of the end zone on the other, 15 meters from the front of one end zone to the back of the end zone. So the entire field, 75 meters from the back of one end zone to the back of the other. It's the other thing you notice walking around the fields as the wind picks up and we're holding on to our tent. You watch some of the best throwers in the world, and they're never throwing it as far as they can in a game of beach ultimate. So there's much more finesse on every throw.
And that's so important of all the many adjustments that need to be made when learning to play on the beach or when acclimating to the beach setting. That's one of the lesser discussed, is understanding that the beach field is shorter. So throws that would take you to the back of the end zone on a field going to go way out the back of the end zone on beach. So keeping in mind that you have to kind of holster your desire to let it rip.
And that was the first thing I noticed walking around and watching some of the open games, the conservative nature of the teams looking for the unders when they had some height streaking deep, but they just don't have that sort of cushion toward the back of the end zone like you do on a typical grass regulation size field. So Japan looking for its first score. Games to 13, 45 minutes in length. That's when the soft cap would go on. And looking deep for Yamamoto, forcing Ireland to restart from the corner of its own end zone, basically a punt there from Japan.
Yeah, when you have a receiver like Yamamoto, I saw her lay out during warm-ups. She's clearly one of the faster members of the team and willing to put in the effort necessary to haul it down to the other end of the field. It can be tempting to overthrow her, as we've seen happen 2 times in a row.
This is the 3rd round of the day, and Ireland looking for a 3-0 lead. That disc floats, in or out? One foot was clearly in, but was it a straddle? And Ireland saying it's a goal, no argument from Japan. Looking forward to seeing the replay of this. The question is, was that right foot airborne when she secured possession of the disc?
So addressing our fans who are watching Ultimate for the first time, when you catch the disc in the end zone, one foot cannot be outside of the end zone. So it was a little tricky to tell there whether she stopped rotation of the disc while her right foot was above ground or whether it had already touched down. But because Ultimate is a self-officiated sport, the players on the field are the ones who will make the final determination. Ireland calling it a goal, and apparently no contest from Japan on that one.
Clearly, Ireland's ability to work it upwind has been a significant factor in the early portion of this game. Halftime at 7. It's Kavanaugh with another pull for the Irish, and that's a beauty. One bounce, and then off the back corner cone, Japan will bring this up to the front corner of the end zone. Landed inbounds, untouched by the offensive team, out of bounds. They're allowed to walk up to the front of the end zone. If, for example, it had bounced off the ground and then deflected off the Japanese player's body before it went out of bounds, then she would have had to initiate play from the back line of the end zone, and in that case, Japan would be in a very precarious position.
Yeah, it is tough to be pushed all the way to the very back of the field. One missed throw, and it can result in an immediate score for the opposing team.
Peter Griffith unable to connect with Asako Yamamoto. The Irish with a quick restart. Donald Murray over to Rob Holland. Unmarked at the moment. There's a couple mixed gender matchups on the field, and the Irish go to the female player underneath. Holland, beautiful lefty backhand up line goes Kavanaugh, and it's 4-zip. Just over 10 minutes gone here in the first half.
Kavanaugh was one of the leading assist makers in the game against Portugal yesterday. He threw 5 goals, 5 of their 12 goals. Now showing he likes to be the receiving end of those goals as well. You know, I'm really impressed with Ireland's ability to holster their offense right now. It's not moving incredibly quickly, but when you watch the person with the disc, they're surveying the field to make sure they're making the smartest decision possible. Sometimes some opportunities are popping up that might, in a fraction of a second, look like they're a good choice, but they're waiting that extra split second to make sure it's the right moves. Like I said, it's kind of slowing their offensive flow, but people downfield are not stagnating. They're continuing to offer different looks, different opportunities. It's really working out well for them.
Looks like a timeout called by the Japanese as they trail 4-0, looking for answers, and the spacing of the Irish team and their ability to holster is what's creating this lead, not to mention the defense.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised Japan didn't take a moment and call that timeout sooner. That 4-point lead in a match that's only 45 minutes long is pretty tough to fight back from. Certainly not outside of the realm of possibility, but they have their work carved out for them. If Japan was putting on a zone defense, I'm kind of surprised they haven't used that as an opportunity right now.
It started with a shot to the end zone from Melvin. The Irish knew they'd have an advantage with their female players. They have great confidence in that aspect of their game, and Jennifer Cooper found the end zone. 3 of Ireland's 4 goals hauled in by females so far, and this is one of them. A full field deep shot to the back line of the end zone, and just before the foot landed out of bounds, hauled in by Kelly Hyland, the lone American-born player on Team Ireland. Some pretty good swagger from this Irish team as they look to get to 2-1 in the competition. Now in the mixed division, there's 2 pools, 9 teams in each pool, and the top 4 in each pool advance to the quarters. So trying to get in that bracket play in the top 8. Obviously leading up to the championship games, which will be late Thursday afternoon and then all day Friday, and we'll have those all covered for you throughout the week. I'm also open to be recruited to play on one of these teams, so if might leave the broadcast a little early if that's the case. What a thrill it must be for these players to be here. You know, some of them have trained their entire lives for this. Some of them are, you know, much more Frisbee novices, learning about the game of Ultimate and the cultural impact that this sport is having across the world is remarkable, and to see it unfold in front of our eyes firsthand. You know, sometimes one team is just superior, and that's the case in this one for Team Ireland. You could call that a stuffed score, but it was basically a quick turnover, and then Dara Kelleher wide open in the end zone.
Kelleher, a national whistling champion in Ireland, strutting his stuff, showing off his size, with a great streak into the end zone for that one.
Did you get him to whistle for you?
You know what, I haven't yet, but I certainly intend to.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to see if that's actually true, or whether or not that the Irish team was just messing with you a little bit, because I think it's about 50-50. I hope it's true.
You know, I will admit to being gullible, but I believed Sam when he told me that factoid. So again, we'll find out. We'll have him whistle for us, and then we'll get back to you.
Irish's whistling offense so far out to the 5-zip lead. The 4th ever Beach Ultimate World Championships. 2004, 2007, 2011, and now 2015. A typically once in 4-year adventure. 4 years ago in Italy. Before that, Brazil and Portugal also hosted Beach Worlds. And this is the first time that WFDF, the World Flying Disc Federation, has ever brought one of its international competitions into the Middle East. A lot of conversation about that, but you know, you were chatting with some of the locals from Dubai, played for the UAE team, and you know, the cultural exchanges, and you know, Ultimate still in its infancy over here, but this is something that can be a launching point.
Well, and Dubai is such a cultural melting pot. It's been great, I think, for all teams to come see what Dubai has to offer.
Max Friedman in the end zone lays out, and Japan gets on the board.
The entire Japan team rushing to the field to celebrate their very first score, especially an effort like this one. a layout to ensure his feet cross the line. Some great replays of that layout.
Friedman, one of the captains, formerly of Dartmouth's team, Pain Train. And he's lived in Japan for quite a while. Such a different sort of finesse required on these throws from what you're typically used to watching on grass, wearing cleats, and you're looking at a lot more bullets in the other version, but here a lot of floaty throws, that lip of the disc tilting upward as it flies, saucering to the end zone to try to just hang in the air, use that gravitational force to hold on up there for the player to run to it. So Ireland looking to break and take it to half. Friedman will receive this pull. Offense dictates in the mixed division, so Japanese going with the 3 females here. And already the suffocating Irish defense forces the layout bid. Japan keeps it alive. Eri Sasaki, and then her throw intended for Yamamoto, incomplete. Rob Holland stumbles downward, and a foul called. Again, completely self-officiated. Pivoting, and clearly a foul. No contest there by Friedman. Costello had it knocked away. Friedman, the poaching D. Japan going upwind here, away from the ocean. This is Griffith at the Lawrence University in Wisconsin, wearing a hat with a couple of Japanese characters. And Friedman, his second score for Japan. Little disappointed because Griffith, who picked up that assist, has the Japanese characters on his hat, number 3. And the characters sort of are translated into hammer time in Japanese.
Well, maybe he's holstering that for the end of the game. Can't always throw a hammer, but Freeman gives himself bookends with that play. Freeman, of course, got that D earlier in the point, showing what heads-up play is. He got a D on a throw to his person, being just a few steps off. He kept his eyes on his player as well as on the disc that enabled him to make that play, and then, of course, sprinted deep to make himself a viable option for Griffith.
Matthew Heibel, the guy they call Sunshine, to pull for the Japanese mixed team. Kensuke Nakatsu, the other gentleman out there on this 2 male, 3 female line for the Japanese defense. And the pull just wide of the end zone. Ireland will center, taking it to what's referred to as the brick mark. Out of bounds pull comes to the middle of the field, just outside the end zone. Heibel defending Finn. Initiates play, and underneath wide open. What do you think of the spacing downfield here, Megan?
They're doing a really good job of using the entire length of the field. It can be tempting to clog or hang out behind the disc when you're on beach. Really gives themselves some room to play around with it.
Isolating their 3 female cutters downfield. An upline shot, incomplete, out of the grip of Claire Pugh. Just not quite enough float. A little bit more of an air bounce. Typically they say air bounces are not great competitive throws, but in a situation like this,
would have been helpful.
obviously the smaller field, but also a 5-on-5 as Japan's Yoko Yamada just sheds the pylon. Irish team getting some shade. Anytime you can get shade here in Dubai, you want to take advantage of it. Still warming up today. Dump it back for Heibel. Naito. Heibel, the lefty. Nobody really threatening to stretch the field here for Japan. And now Heibel's going to take off. Well defended by Ireland. They sensed it coming. And now back to Heibel underneath. Is there enough float on this one? There will not be. What's it like on a multi-turnover point, 5-on-5? You know, there's really not a place for you to cheat and try to get some rest.
No, and this is really where we start to see unforced errors mount. We were watching a game, Russia versus Canada yesterday, a game that went on very nearly 20 points. There was huck after huck after huck to empty space, players not quite able to close that gap. Now that is the veteran move that really helps these points that start to go on a couple possessions, especially on the beach. A timeout so that you can collect yourself, take a deep breath. Because besides that, when you're playing 5-on-5, there are too few people to really get a rest during the point.
Ireland leading 6-2, 1 point away from taking half. Another dissimilarity from grass ultimate. Halftime is very brief, so there's not an extended break like there is on grass. Coming up later today at noon local time, in about 90 minutes from now, we'll have a fantastic game between two of the top open teams, Great Britain and Japan. It's one of the highlights for the Japanese mixed team. Friedman has both goals. And then one thing, and I know you're really looking forward to, as are we all here in Dubai, a possible championship game preview. You never know, USA and Canada. That'll be at 3 o'clock local time, and we are 8 hours ahead of the East Coast of the States. That makes us 11 hours ahead of the West Coast, if I've done the math correctly. So,
you're doing great, Evan.
3 o'clock local time here, 7 a.m. on the East Coast, 4 a.m. on the West Coast. And for all of Megan's fans in Chicago, that'll be 2 a.m. No, it'll be 6 a.m. on the East Coast. Lots of great sights to see here in Dubai. You and I have gotten the thrill of broadcasting all around the world, the United States and Canada. I must say, going through customs en route to Dubai was easier than going through customs en route to Canada, which was a little surprising.
I felt the exact same way. I'm like, don't I have to fill out some paperwork and answer a bunch of questions?
They just stamp that passport, take your picture, and you are off. Ireland unable to take half on that shot. Up the far sideline looking for Claire Pugh.
It's not quite enough lift on that throw from Jennifer Kwan.
So this Ireland team seated 4th in the mixed division coming in. USA number 1, Sweden 2, Canada 3. How do you handicap Ireland's chances to be a contender for a gold? That's going to be too far, and Ireland will retake the disc in the end zone.
Well, the difficult task with that is you noticed how much talent they have spread across their roster. I think in their game against UAE yesterday, their leading goal scorer was Claire Pugh with just 2 goals, and their leading assist maker was Derek Kelliger with just 2 goals. So that means that the entire work of scoring those 13 points was spread out across the entire roster. They're not relying on just 1 or 2 individuals.
Which is good news, right?
It's great news for Ireland, but that makes it a very difficult task too, as you were saying, handicap this particular team. It's not like you can focus your energies on 1 or 2 individuals. So you're going to have to try and mix up the defenses to do something to kind of slow down the offense. And then offensively, you're going to have to work it within all hands on deck, because Ireland takes note of their opponents. You can't rely on just a couple of people to run your offense, because they'll put their best defenders on it and stop that.
Looking for Seamus Murray, and that's halftime as Ireland leads it 7-2. Pugh, forehand past the mark of Naito. And a long point won by the Irish. No luck needed there. So it's a game to 13. And coincidentally, I believe Ireland will pull from this end zone as if halftime was not a factor. Japan pulled from that end zone at the game's outset. So a very short break during the halftime, but short as in about 45 seconds, typical time between points.
Yeah, when the first half has taken up more than half the game, it is pretty customary to just get back on the field quickly. You don't want to waste the time you have remaining, because it'll all be over so soon. You know, I'm not sure what Japan chatted about in the huddle, but if I had to wager a guess, I imagine they're looking to pull something else out of the hat to throw against Ireland. Right now, their defenses are just not slowing down the Irish offense.
Lofty pull, settles about midway through the center of the end zone. Heibel. Stall count rising, and he gets the reset. Looking for Heibel, he makes a great play coming back to the disc. Drops it off for Griffith. Now Heibel again. Orchestrating the attack to Friedman, and now crossfield Griffith. Japan looking to begin the second half with a strong offensive point and converted into the end zone. Hidemi Tominaga. Everybody touched it. That was the best Japanese offensive flow we've seen so far.
Absolutely, and then the funny thing about that was that it started with a desperation throw. Stall count was rising, a big throw went off, and that motivated them to move it along. That's the kind of full team effort that Japan is going to have to continue to put forth to make up the difference that they look at right now.
And they lost to Russia, the Japanese did 11-5, and lost to the Swiss 9-8 after taking an 8-6 lead. Beat the UAE, the host team, 9-6 in the final game yesterday to get in the win column. First goal for Japan's Hidemi Tominaga. Which country do you think will have the toughest pronunciations for you and me?
Oh, Russia.
Russia?
Without a doubt.
Speaking from experience?
Yeah. That was the team that I had the hardest time with yesterday.
One of the coolest things about an event like this is trying to learn. Jump ball teed up in the end zone. Heibel soaring for the defensive maneuver. And Japan will get the disc, looking for a break.
Yeah, watching this again, Heibel comes from behind. It doesn't even look like he's going to be part of the melee. Knocks it right out of the hopeful hands of the Irish.
Heibel, a downfield cutter. Looking to initiate the offense, he'll get the first throw. Japanese look like a different team here in the second half. Oh, a little creative throw, but Heibel on the layout bid falls short. The crafty high release flick there from the Japanese handler.
It's
Yamamoto.
useful, but it's not entirely easy to control.
The Japanese team have enough in the tank to get something back on defense? The answer is no. Another quick, swift conversion for Team Ireland. They lead at 8-3.
Really impressed with how well the Irish are working together. I asked Sam before the game exactly how the team came together, and Sam was the captain along with Rory for the last two beach teams, and so they picked a group of people who some of them had played on the team before, so they knew how these beach tournaments works, and then they, as a partnership, the two captains picked a few other people along with a selection committee. So it was part pulling people who have had this experience before and part handcrafted. So even though they haven't had a ton of time to generate chemistry, they've played one tournament together as this team. You know, when you go through that process, that hand-picked process, that handcrafted process, really does help you, you know, pick those people who are going to add to the team dynamic a little bit better.
Well, there's a reasonably vibrant ultimate scene in Ireland. Do you get a sense of the type of community they have over there?
You know, it seemed like a cooperative one. I asked for some facts about people on the team, and he gave me a lot of
whistling information.
Whistling information. So knowing those kinds of fun details of one another, I got a sense that friendship really was the underlying current amongst these teammates.
Ireland with a 5-score edge. Japan brings this disc into the brick mark with Max Friedman, the handler. Griffith unable to haul it in.
Timony Dean from a disadvantaged position.
O'Callaghan for Holland. Lefty backhand off the fingertips of O'Callaghan, and Japan an opportunity. Looking deep, but Ireland's going to get there first. O'Callaghan makes up for the drop. Trying to send Kensuke Nakatsu. He wasn't ready for it. Now to the other end zone. Up in the air. Bodies tumble and incomplete. It falls. Holland tripping over Friedman. This was an opportunity for a highlight reel moment, but you just don't have the same ups on sand as you do on grass.
That's for sure.
And that's going to be one of the biggest adjustments for most of these players to make. Not sure if this was a foul on the throw or they called a foul on the reception and it's contested, and looks like it's going to be Ireland's disc going back, but it's just sort of understanding your own limitations out here on the sand. You're used to having a vertical and being up to go get that. Very different scenario. Trying to adapt the just throwing on the beach with your friends during spring break to all of a sudden now at this international competition.
Certainly makes for a stronger player when you've gone through that type of experience, taking yourself out of your comfort zone and started to adjust. You learn even more about yourself as a teammate, as an athlete, when you kind of challenge yourself in this way.
Nice touch on Kevin Timony's forehand to the end zone. Ireland creeping closer to its second win of the tournament. There are 10 fields at this complex, this main stadium showcase field that you are looking at the end of the large beach complex, which spans I don't know, maybe kilometer and a half down the way, maybe half a mile.
Well, walking on it, it feels like it's forever, just because it takes such a long time to walk through all that sand.
Umbrellas popular not because of any expected precipitation, but because there is no expected precipitation.
Not a cloud in the sky.
And that will sail far and wide, which is where many of these teams have come from to participate in the 4th ever Beach Worlds here in Dubai. What was the highlight of the competition yesterday in terms of the games that you saw?
Can I give you 2 answers?
As many as you'd like. We got all day.
Well, first, I really enjoyed Russia's upset against Canada. Russia, very, very athletic team. This is in the women's division, so they were a fun, energetic team to watch. And then second, France went down to Australia 5 points, pulled it back within 2 at some point during the game. It was really fun to watch France's effort. They never got down. They started to pick it back up, elevate their level of play. In the end, Australia was victorious, but it was a really engaging effort to watch.
Ireland into double figures, leading 10-3. Murray picks up another assist. Nice low release flick. See the angle of the disc, just that slight upward tilt. That was about as quick of a throw as you'll see from a velocity standpoint, knowing that he had the underneath cut wide open. So Ireland 3 scores away as we sit about 5-6 minutes from the soft cap. How surprised were you that the Russian team knocked off Canada?
I had the opportunity to watch Russia for a couple of points against Courier Island, and that's when I recognized that they were going to be quite a formidable foe. I did feel like Canada played down. I didn't see them as aggressive as I normally do, so that in and of itself was surprising. But like I said, having watched Russia for a couple of points, I was not entirely surprised that they were as formidable of a force as they were. Like I said, the way Canada played did ultimately surprise me or lead me to be surprised by the upset.
Certainly as the sport continues to grow outside of North America, different countries are going to keep getting better. Heibel gets his feet down in the end zone, and that will be a goal for Japan.
Great play from Heibel on that one. You notice the disc was sailing right over his head. He had to flip his head a couple of different directions to make sure he could keep it within his line of sight. And even with a little head wobble, he was able to jump up, grab it, and make sure he landed both feet cleanly in the end zone.
A little sunshine for Team Japan. This Japanese team, yesterday was about getting to know each other, they said, and still trying to develop. Doug Heimberger, sort of the impetus, the organizer behind this Japanese mixed team. And Doug began working for Amazon.com about 15 years ago. Now he's overseeing a lot of the Asian finance for Amazon. Started as a software engineer there. Grew up in Chicago, went to MIT, moved to Seattle. A lot of good Ultimate cities.
And talking about getting to know one another, that's another thing I really love about these tournaments. Oftentimes the teams that come to these tournaments are not necessarily the teams that play together most often back in their home country, but it is a great way to get to know people in your sport, in your home country. So when you go back and return to your club team at future club tournaments, you'll have a friend on the opposing team. Helps continue to develop and keep that sense of camaraderie in the Ultimate community, even amongst the archest of rivals.
Yeah, unquestionably. And there will still be some great intensity here. Walking the fields during the last hour, got to watch the final couple points of Canada versus France in the open division. Game that went down to the wire. Team Canada ended up winning by 1 on double game point. Worked it down the field without a turnover, but great spirit from the French team. And now Ireland into the end zone again. A little flick from Seamus Murray into the grasp of Emer Staunton.
Emer Staunton, apparently quite an accomplished musician of Irish music. Clearly we need to have Team Ireland put on a talent show for us after this game.
We'll be the judges. We have different criteria. We look for different things, so it'll be certainly very fair. Brian will be back to judge as well.
Little post-game entertainment before we lead into the next one.
Yeah, our next broadcast from the beaches here in Dubai will be a little over an hour from now, about 75 minutes, noon local time here in Dubai. Open division with Great Britain and Japan. Looking forward to that one. No one from the Buzz Bullets is on the Japanese team. There are some of Clapham's finest on the Great Britain squad. Clapham team that, in Lecco, had that unbelievable universe point game with Revolver in the quarterfinals, and one turnover here and there could have changed the entire narrative for the top team in the world last year in Lecco. Looking forward to seeing the Canadian team against the USA team. A lot of guys on that Canadian team were part of the GOAT squad that knocked off that Revolver team in Texas last October, ending Revolver's quest for another title, USAU Nationals. Lots of great storylines here in Dubai as we watch this Ireland team trying to put the finishing touches on a pool play victory. Good defense on the under, and now Ireland shooting one to the end zone right on the money. Kevin Timoney, another assist.
Ireland exhibiting patience, great patience, even more.
So the score, 12-4. And just seconds away from the soft cap. This will be a game to 13 regardless. Ireland's next game, a couple hours from now, against Slovakia, the 16 seed in that pool. Pool A in the mixed division features Ireland as the number 2 seed in the pool, the number 4 overall seed. USA, the number 1 at the top of the pool, with Australia, Portugal, Russia. This Japanese team that came in as the 11th overall seed. Switzerland, Slovakia, and the UAE. The host team ranked 17th out of 18th coming into the tournament, but obviously a chance to defy expectations. Trying to study this rubric here and see when Ireland is going to play USA. Certainly that'll be a very important game to perhaps help decide who wins that pool in the mixed division. Deep shot, looking for Heibel. And a great gratuitous bid from Sunshine.
Giving it his all, hoping for the best.
late this afternoon on field 10, which is about the furthest away from where we're currently at. 5 o'clock local time, Ireland versus USA in the mixed division.
At which time we'll be airing Canada versus Sweden.
This could do it, but a little too much air out the back of the end zone for Ireland. Obviously, the USA has won a lot of gold medals previous Beach Worlds, but I don't think any of the USA teams are invincible. I don't know about you.
Well, having represented the United States in Portugal in the first year I played on the mixed team, we took 4th. So clearly not invincible.
It's about time they replaced you with someone who can win gold. I'm sure that was not the plan at all. You're just a gold medalist in the broadcast booth.
Thank you, Evan.
At least one of the 4 finest broadcasters we have here.
I'll take that.
It's a thrill to be here with Brian Jones and Megan Tormey and Ross Christ with Dubai Sports and Sky Magazine. I wouldn't be here without Sky Magazine founder, editor Elliot Trotter. So Elliot out there somewhere representing Team Australia. We'll certainly chat with him more about some point. But Ireland closes this one out as Brian O'Callaghan clinches the victory for the Irish in their 3rd game of pool play. They improved to 2-1 with only a 1-point universe point loss to Portugal yesterday, being the only blemish for the Irish team. Your thoughts on what Team Ireland can be the next couple of days going forward, Megan?
Well, like I said earlier, I am just impressed with the breadth of talent they have on that team. They certainly do not rely on 1 or 2 superstars. It's a full team effort. I also like the patience that they exhibit. I think the only thing that will help them move forward and improve is holstering those longer throws. That's where they started to get that's where their efficiency of their offense started to wane a little bit, and that goes back to, as we've talked about before, this field being a little bit shorter and the wind being a little bit stiffer than you might be used to on grass.
The final score in the mixed division in pool play, Ireland 13, Japan 4. Our coverage continues in just over an hour, noon local time, 70 minutes from now here in Dubai, where we will have an open division matchup between Great Britain and Japan. For now, on behalf of everyone with Dubai Sports and Sky Magazine, for Megan Tormey, I'm Evan Lepler. Thanks for tuning in wherever you might be, and we will talk to you soon here from Beach Worlds in Dubai.